got two reasons why today is going to be a special episode. The first reason is our guest, our VP of Marketing here at Lucky Orange, Sarah Bond. And then the other reason is the topic, and I'll get into that in a second. You've probably read the episode title, but first of all, the reason why Sarah's a special guest, not only does she bring a wealth of knowledge about the topic, but also Sarah's the reason why the Lucky Orange Show got the green light to even exist in the first place. So Sarah, welcome to the Lucky Orange Show, and thank you for all the support as we've tried to get this show off the ground.
For sure. Thanks, Sean. I'm excited to finally be on the show and get to talk to everybody about some of the things we've been doing lately.
The topic is also exciting and special today. This is something that I feel like Sarah and I are both pretty passionate about, and something that's really exciting for Lucky Orange now and for Lucky Orange heading into the future. And that's really the future of CRO tools, future of websites and website optimization and all that. So we've made a recent release that we call Lucky Orange Discovery. And I think it makes sense probably to start there. Sarah, if you could kind of just walk through a little bit about Discovery and how it fits into the broader Lucky Orange toolkit.
Right. So Lucky Orange is all about, those of you who follow us, who know a little bit about us, have used the product, we're all about helping people try to better understand what people are doing on your website. And to get to those really powerful insights that other tools that just show you how many people have come to a page or how long they were on a page, when you're looking at just those numbers, it really isn't showing you that behind the scenes. What did they do while they were on my site? Where were they clicking? Where were they scrolling? What was the actual behavior? What are the things that I should be changing to get someone to stay on that page longer or to scroll further down the page? And as we really studied what our users were doing and the way that they were using Lucky Orange, we realized that people, especially those who are newer to website optimization, were really struggling to understand how to find that really powerful visitor behavior. Those moments that when you're watching a session recording where you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that on the page. That's what I need to fix. That people were struggling ways to find that really powerful moment in terms of website optimization. So Discovery was really born out of this notion of how do we get people to that moment faster? You can sit there and watch a lot of different session recordings, and it can be very overwhelming. If your site gets a ton of traffic and you have this really long list of visitor recordings to go through, it can feel overwhelming. So Discovery for us is really all about, okay, how do we hone in on those things that through the scale of Lucky Orange, through the expertise of our teams, how can we get you to that moment where you're more likely to find that really insightful visitor behavior on your website so that you can make those changes that will boost your conversion rate, that will grow your sales?
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree. I think when we get people on the platform and the app that are brand new to website optimization, it's a very different process for them to get fully up to speed than somebody that may be working on a full-blown CRO team that knows heat maps, that knows session recordings. And a lot of the conversations that led up to Discovery were exactly what you said, which is how do we just make that a simpler process? And the word discovery really kind of describes how it all plays out. And we've released this sort of version 1 inside the app that helps you find optimization opportunities within your data. But really, this is sort of an initiative and a longer term play for us to build around the idea of discovery within the app. Can you talk a little bit about how you see that playing out as sort of a framework for product enhancements as a whole moving forward, and sort of an idea of discovery for people?
Right. And to add to that, I would also mention that discovery isn't just for our users who are newer in their journey. In fact, we built Discovery on something that our more sophisticated users have already figured out how to do using Lucky Orange tools. So a lot of what Discovery is built upon is this filtering ability within Lucky Orange, where you can dive in and you can say, show me these sessions that have these criteria that are most likely to indicate a frustrated user. So show me where people are rage clicking. Show me where people are leaving a page quickly. And currently in Lucky Orange, you can save that information as a saved segment. You can come back to it time and time again. So this idea of trying to make our product, and I think more broadly across the industry, trying to take those more advanced user features and bundle them up so that even your less sophisticated users or your users who are newer to your product or newer in their journey of using tools like whatever your product may be are able to get to that value that your more experienced users who have spent a lot of time in the tool are able to find. Is really where we continue to want to take our product. But I think in the industry as a whole, you're seeing a lot more along these lines of how do we take these really complicated products and make them as simple as possible for a user to use and delightful in a way too. Even our more advanced users who might be, let's say on the agency side, who are using Lucky Orange to manage their client websites and are trying to find optimization opportunities across multiple websites. Discovery gives them an avenue to go in and really save time. They don't have to go in and do the manual configuration of setting up segments. They can go in now and just, oh, yep, this is the prompt I want. I see that it creates the saved segment essentially, and then they found it. So I think you really got to look at it from both ways when we're thinking about the future of where we want to take our product, but also more broadly SaaS products. How do you not only help people who are new to your product or just getting started in their journey, but also taking those things that you've observed your power users do and making that more accessible for those users who are just getting started?
Yeah, I mean, segmentation and filtering inside Lucky Orange is really what unlocks everything. And of course, you need to know where to click to segment and to filter. You need to know how to create a saved segment. But once you figure that out and you can take a look at all of your traffic sources, what's performing, what's not performing, once you know how to use segmenting and filtering inside tools like Lucky Orange, it really just takes everything to the next level. And it really clicks for users based on what we know with our feedback from our users. I think it's interesting you talk about kind of simplifying this whole process. It's April 15th today, and last week I was at the spring conference in Austin, and one of the conversations I was having was about the future of websites. And a lot of that conversation just led to people saying, we think everything is going to be simplified. There's been such this growth of apps and analysis tools and everything that's kind of been bloating and being hyper sophisticated over the past 5-10 years. Everybody looking forward to the future says it's going to be simpler to build a website and manage a website. And then in our view with discovery moving forward, it's going to be simpler to optimize a website. And within that, simpler to segment, to filter, and all these things. Are there any other trends that you've noticed in the industry or otherwise that kind of led up to this conversation even happening?
March of 2023 is when everything Chat GPT kind of blew up and took over not only the marketing world, but I think the tech world as we know it. And that I think was a really pivotal point when we look back and we say, okay, where did things start to change? I think we're going to put a pin in March of 2023 and say, ChatGPT came on the scene, everybody started using it and playing around with it. And I think that is going to be seen as the beginning of maybe the end for websites, SEO as we know it, because what those sorts of conversational AI tools have done is they're starting to reshape the user expectation of how we obtain and consume information. We're moving away from a world in which you went to Google search, you saw a bunch of blue links on a SERP page, and you're fighting to get on that first page of results. If you think about the impact that conversational AI has had on that behavior, we now expect to have a conversation with an assistant. We expect to be able to type in, this is my specific problem, this is a specific query I want, and get that exact answer to what we want. And if you use the example of looking for statistics on anything online, let's say you're trying to find out what are the changes in consumer website behavior. Well, if you go into Google search and you pop that query into the Google search bar before conversational AI, you're going to get back a list of links and you're going to have to click on the link. You're going to have to read through it. Maybe you'd be lucky that there would be a featured snippet that might give you the answer to your query, but you still had to do a lot of consumption. And maybe you're looking for a very specific
Right.
piece of information, and you might go back and forth between the 3 or 4 top search results to try and find that information. Think about how different that same query is now. If you go into Gemini in Google, or if you go into ChatGPT, or if you go into Bing and you do a search query, and you get the exact answer back to you in a very conversational format. It's very different. And I think as everyone gets more and more used to asking questions and getting a specific answer, they're going to expect that our software tools function the same way. And all of our experiences are going to become that way. You're not going to have the patience
Hmm.
to sift through a bunch of information. You're going to want to be taken directly to the answer. And that's what we're thinking about from a Lucky Orange standpoint is people don't want to have to do the extra legwork. They just want to be taken to the answer. And how do we get ahead of that and understand that user expectations are shifting and changing? And you can't expect to drop someone into a tool and that they'll take the time to learn how to use it. And I think of this in terms of when smartphones first came out, you'd get a user manual in the box with your phone that it would tell you how to set it up. And it was this thick book, and you had to hang on to it because you probably weren't going to find the information. Maybe it wasn't that intuitive. And then from there, we migrated to those quick start guides. Okay, I've got this like trifold that folds out. It tells me how to set up the phone. Now you don't get anything. You open up any Apple product, there's no instructions in it. One, because they try to make it intuitive as a
Hmm.
design standpoint as possible. But even that has trained people that I expect to get into a product and for it to work the way and to give me the answers that I want immediately out of the gate. And I think that's only going to continue to accelerate, especially in the SaaS and the product based business, is people aren't going to have a lot of appetite to get in there and spend a lot of time or taking courses online, figuring out how to use a product. Look at GA4. There is so much to learn at that. There's a ton of reconfiguration you had to do. Think about how different that experience would be in a world where you can just say, this is exactly what I want. Show me this information, where I don't have to figure out, is it in reports? Is it in traffic acquisition? Where is it? That'd be a very different scenario if that whole experience was catered around that notion of conversational AI and just give me the information that I'm specifically asking you for without me learning how to go and get that information.
I think in this case, it's interesting because the consumer expectation is one part of it. It's also just the consumer understanding, and in consumer in our world being a business that would use Lucky Orange, the consumer of Lucky Orange, their expectations would be one thing, but also just them understanding what's AI, what's machine learning, what's not, and just being called AI. We, as a tool that's seeking to kind of change the way everything works, have to do some education along with just plastering AI on something in our nav or in a, in interactions like this, saying, "Hey, it's AI." I'm curious your thoughts on that side of things, where you go out and you communicate your AI features, and you market or you communicate it, you call it AI versus machine learning. What your thoughts are around how we can approach that, and maybe how people should be approaching that as this sort of what wild west of AI continues to play out. Yeah, you mentioned a date. It's a year ago or whatever, but we're still so early. It feels like on how this all plays out. What are your thoughts around marketing and calling things AI, and from a product perspective as well?
I think you keyed in on the central point, Sean, is do people really care? If it works well, does it matter if it says
Hmm.
AI? And you're right, we are still very early, especially in the B2B space for people adopting this and figuring out and trying to define what AI means more than a splashy label. I have to think that most people who are looking to make a purchase of a software product, when they see a label that says AI enabled or AI features, do you really care? Because you know what you're going into the product, what you want it to do. And if at the end of the day, it does that job that you're hiring that product to do, does it really matter to the end consumer how that job gets done? Well, there may be some factors around AI that you need to address from a trust standpoint. So, how can you ensure that I can trust that your AI isn't going to hallucinate, that sort of thing? And I think we're getting to a point from an industry perspective where we're getting better solutions to address that. I was just at the Google Next conference last week, and one of the things that a lot of these AI tools are making it much easier to do is to ground your AI agents in a specific data source. So you can point it to an enterprise library of content and you can say, I want you to pull the answer from here so that you can try and get around some of that hallucination issues that really was plaguing AI at the beginning. So I think we're, addressing some of those things that could be a potential downside when you slap AI on a product. But I think we have to be careful in using AI from a marketing standpoint and expecting it to be a silver bullet of, oh, if I just put AI on this, people are going to want it because doesn't everybody want AI? It's the new big thing. My product needs to have it. When really you still have to think about the value proposition that your product offers your end consumer
Right.
and how are you solving that? And if you're effectively communicating that, the AI machine learning piece becomes less important, especially if you are considering, the trade-offs of do people think AI is reliable right now? And some of that may come down to really understanding the users of your product and the experiences that they may have had with other AI products. Are they exposed to it within the ecosystem? Are they a Shopify merchant who has already seen AI being infused in Shopify's tools,
Hmm.
so they're comfortable with the concept of it? Or, are they coming from somewhere else and they're like, well, I don't know, AI seems kind of new. Maybe it's not something that I really want in a product that I'm buying. I just want the thing that works at the end of the day.
I mean, it's almost like the classic features versus benefits conversation where, hey, this has AI. Okay, great, but so what? And if you can't tell that so what story without saying, hey, it's made with AI, then maybe it's not actually beneficial to the customer and you just raced to add something that's using, in many cases, just machine learning. We've released Discovery to the wild within the past month, and we're seeing a lot of activity, people using the optimization opportunities and the prompts and having a tangible impact on how people are using things. I'm curious from your perspective what you're hoping to learn from the customer feedback that comes through about this first launch within the Discovery initiative.
Question. And I think anytime you launch a new product, a new feature out there in the wild, you kind of have that hold your breath moment and you hope you're sending it out into the world and it does what you
Hmm.
expected it to do. You hope that, with us specifically for Discovery, that we're making it easier for our customers to get to valuable information. And so far, the numbers are saying that, yeah, we are seeing people use it and come back to it and that they are seeing value from being taken directly to where those insights are. But secondarily, I think the really interesting thing for us, and the interesting thing for anyone who works in product and you put out a new feature, is taking your assumptions of how you thought people would use it and maybe the things that people would really highly engage with and what they actually engage with. And that's been very interesting to us to see not only the problems and the solutions that we're putting forward and which ones are resonating with people, but it's also been really interesting from the marketing standpoint to see the way that we communicate, like you said, Sean, that benefit proposition versus a feature based proposition, when you really highlight the benefit of what you could get from certain optimization opportunity, or if you look at this in this light, is really resonating with people and taking them to perhaps parts of our product that when you just think of it in context of this feature does X, Y, and Z, maybe weren't getting as much traction before. But when you really highlight and here's what this feature does for you within the product itself, that's really powerful for people. And I think sometimes there is this struggle between marketing wanting to communicate, hey, here's my value proposition for what this does. And if there's a disconnect with a product team who says, well, we don't
Yeah.
have room in the product to say all that. How do I say all that? I just have, this many characters to put the feature name or a label on it. I think really having that connection between product and marketing and design and engineering and making sure all of those things are connected is really, really important in product. And those silos are something that we really try and break down at Lucky Orange because we know that there has to be that seamless connection between what marketing says the product does and the experience that our users have once they actually get into the product. Because you can write all of the amazing blog posts in the world, Sean, but if someone's in the product and they're not reading that blog post, how do you make sure that they understand and get that value? And that at the end of the day really comes down to communication and coordination between marketing and UX and engineering, and everyone being a participatory player in that room when those product decisions are made.
That's part of the reason why I love the optimization opportunities part of our Discovery feature so much. And just for context, if you're not using it yet, basically it's a list of prompts that says things like, show me people what people who might have had a frustrating experience on my site did. I think that sort of phrasing, without adding a bunch of words into the app, really roots it and grounds it in reality to say, okay, I'm talking about people who are frustrated. And the challenge with tools like Lucky Orange, in our job, is to say, we know that the website is only one part of conversion rate optimization. You need to understand what they're doing before they get to your site. You need to understand what happens when they make a purchase and you start shipping and logistics and all of these things to really improve the holistic experience. I think that the optimization opportunities that we provide inside Discovery do a great job of kind of pressing that pause button and saying, here's what we're really talking about. We're not just looking at a list of visitors and seeing where they click and where they scroll. We're talking about somebody who's frustrated or who engaged with your form or who might have experienced a technical issue, these things that have a real world impact. And I think that that's been really cool to see those play out. You talked about customer feedback and how this helps us refine things internally. Discovery is not the only thing that we're working on, though. So we have a vast array of products. We have customer support needs. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how, from a leadership perspective, we're balancing that, giving space for these innovative thoughts and ideas and making them, as we're seeing with Discovery, come to reality, with maintaining the existing product and maintaining everything to serve existing customers and not getting too far out of our skis with grand ideas to deliver there. How are we balancing that?
Well, early on in my career, I read a book called Inside Steve's Brain, and it was all about Steve Jobs and Apple and how he approached product development and just the process of giving customers something amazing and what they want. And I think, Apple is a master class in not only hardware, but also thinking about that end user experience. And one of the things that always stuck with me, and it's something that we really try and focus on at Lucky Orange, is when you have a product, you can't only be siloed into delivering exactly what your customers ask of you. Because if Steve Jobs and Apple had taken the approach and they only created what their customers were telling them they wanted and needed, we would never have an iPhone. We never would have had an iPod. Who would have thought, oh yeah, you want to have all this music in your pocket? But you have to be visionary in some ways. And you can't be
Right.
a visionary who's successful unless you understand your customers and what they want. And that's how something like Discovery was born, was thinking about, but what is it that our customers really want that they aren't telling us, right? No customer came to us and said, gee whiz, it would be really powerful if you put together a curated list of optimization opportunities within your product and I could click on it and then you would explain to me exactly the types of visitor behaviors you're going to show me and then you take me there in the product. I mean, that didn't come through in a support ticket. People aren't asking for that. So you do have to have a balance of what are the things that our customers are trying to do? What are their unmet needs that it is our job as a leadership team and a product team and a UX team to be thinking about and delivering that and putting it out there based in a deep and rich understanding of our customers and what can help them, but also balanced with some of the things that our customers are coming to us and say, hey, my quality of life using your product would be a lot better if you could do this. And you do have to strike that balance. And there's no magic ratio. There's no like 50% of your time should be focused on this, 25 on this. Sure. Yeah, it makes for great content. I'm sure that gets lots of clicks out there. But the real answer is you have to understand what's going on in context of your customers. Sometimes you may say, we need to take a moment and be more innovation focused. And other times you need to take a step back and say, okay, let's let that innovation we just released to get out there and marinate a little bit. Let's learn from it, see how people use it. And before we move on to the next big innovative thing, let's kind of backtrack and say, what have our customers been asking for? What are the things that we can do to improve their quality of life while we continue to work on the innovation? But you can't, go too far down one path or the other, or you'll leave people behind, especially if you're a mature, established product like Lucky Orange. We're fortunate to have a user base who loves our product, loves what it does for them, and we want to continue to improve the core functionality for those users while still making it easier for those people who come into the product for the very first time, who don't have experience with conversion rate optimization, or who are,
Mm-hmm.
at a stage where they are a more sophisticated user who says, I just don't have enough hours in the day to do all of the things to help them along their journey. So you really do have to use that context and rely on that deep understanding of your customers. And, kudos to our support team. They are phenomenal and they really help us keep pulse on what's going on with our customer base And they are so important to us in our product roadmap journey of saying, hey, we're getting a lot of requests for this. We think now is a really good time to maybe focus on this piece of the product. So really pulling them into that discussion because they are the front lines. They know our customers really well, and we really value their input in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially as a product led organization, that's the best touch point, most consistent touch point that we have with our customers. And, there's a reason why SaaS is software as a service. It's not software as a subscription and you just pay us money and we don't care about you. The service element of it, we should care about, like you said, the quality of life within using the app. And we should care about helping guide you forward with our innovation and whether or not you're calling for it directly, spending time and coming up with things like discovery and wherever it may lead is a really important element to that service that we provide for people. Is there anything that you'd like to share with people that are listening about where this is all heading for us? I know that we're still figuring it out. We're researching where things are changing daily. The cost of tokens within AI systems may be changing and there's stuff that's constantly changing and we're staying on top of it. But in the near or midterm sort of future, where do you see discovery heading for Lucky Orange users?
Question. And for us, as we continue to explore this journey of what does it mean in an AI enabled world and infusing more of these capabilities into our product that allow users to get to that really powerful visitor behavior insight as quickly as possible, we'll stay committed and focused to doing what we can do really well, which is helping people who are trying to manage a website get that richer context, that visual context of here's actually what people are doing. That story behind the numbers will continue to stay focused there, but we'll look to ways to get you to that valuable information quicker and allow you to have more of a, okay, so this happened. I see that this happened, but what impact did it have on my business? And looking to help prioritize some of those things that are the most important opportunities for you. We'll continue to stay focused in that area and look for these opportunities to really just make the product that much more intuitive without you having to search for the needle in the haystack of where do I go to find this really insightful information? And, things like you mentioned some of the optimization opportunities we've already rolled out in
Yeah.
Discovery. And I think a really interesting one that we've introduced is show me the most popular things on my website. And within Lucky Orange, that takes you to a feature called Elements. And Elements shows you those parts of your website that gets the most clicks. Well, prior to Discovery, not many of our customers really understood what elements were. Those power users who know, okay, a website element, I get it. But trying to make things like that more intuitive and more insightful for people is definitely where we will continue to go. As the product matures and evolves, we'll continue to pursue this, making the information front and center. Going kind of back to the tagline we've had for our brand for a while of spend less time crunching numbers and more time running your business. That's what we want, right? Our customers are coming to us because they're trying to grow their business. We don't want you to have to spend hours sifting through the data. We want to make it so that you can come into Lucky Orange, you find those really impactful things that you can change, you go and change them,
Right.
and then you continue to iterate and evolve that process.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And it's really leaving a lot of room for creativity within the marketing side and the brand side. And I'm super excited to see where we take things in the next 12 months and beyond as this continues to evolve. So thank you so much, Sarah, for jumping on this morning and sharing all your thoughts and your wisdom with us today. And if you're out there and you're listening and you made it to this point in the podcast and you're not using Discovery, but you're already a Lucky Orange customer, just log in. There's a button at the top of the screen that says Discovery, find the optimization opportunities and go through there. We've got some help docs and we have a couple of videos out explaining how it works. If you've made it to this point in the podcast and you're not a Lucky Orange customer, well, thank you for sticking with us and listening. And hopefully you're equally as excited. Go to luckyorange.com and sign up for a free 7-day trial. You get Discovery, but you also get access to the entire toolkit with heat maps, session recordings, and everything else. So, Sarah, thank you so much.
Sean.